Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to another episode of the Redwater Podcast. As always, I'm Yasar.
And I'm Chemo.
And Nick De Vries is no more.
Officially out. Daniel Ricciardo is back in F1. It only took 10 races, and he's back.
Crazy, I guess, it's 11 technically, right, because of Emily getting canceled. But yeah, 10 races that had actual racing, yes. So, yeah, if you haven't heard and you've been living under a rock, Red Bull sacked Nick De Vries as of, I think it was Tuesday last week or Monday or something like that.
You got to stop saying Tuesday, dude. I'm going to keep making fun of him for his British accent. All right. But yes, that's what came through.
Yes.
It happened a lot quicker than we thought. We thought it was going to wait till summer at least.
No, yeah, that's the thing. But so Ricciardo had a tire test at Silverstone in the RB19, and the lap that he set apparently was only 7/10 off of Max's pole time. So it would have been good enough for him to start on the front row, basically, if he was in the Silverstone Grand Prix. And yeah, Red Bull and Helmut Marko saw that, and they just said, okay, let's put him in the AlphaTauri and get rid of Nick De Vries.
I don't want to... I mean, I know it was like well over 100 laps or something. It wasn't like he just did like half race distance or something and they made a decision. He went through a very extensive test, and I trust that they were probably even hypercritical about Daniel's performance, being skeptical that he's back.
Yeah. Like they saw enough data to where they were convinced enough to say, okay, let's bring him back.
They didn't give him any slack. I don't think they gave him some sort of like special treatment. They looked at it as objectively as possible, and they went, okay, he looks good. Yeah. It really quick before we move on to the rest of Nick De Vries' very short F1 career now. This does bring up a lot of questions about, really what happened with Daniel. Obviously, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much, but it really does ask a lot of questions about, okay, so if this is true, and if he really is only 7/10 behind Max, which during a Pirelli tire test, I mean, we shouldn't take that number too seriously. He's on completely different compounded tire. Yeah. The track was completely different. All that stuff, right? Why was the McLaren so hard to drive for him? Like, genuinely, if it really either means that he couldn't figure out the characteristics of that car, which I think will still have a stain on his legacy for a long time.
No, I agree with that.
Or Lando's way better than him.
Ooh, that's where you were going with that.
No, I'm serious. What other explanation is there?
No, yeah, I think that's fair, because even if you do look at it from the perspective of, he wasn't able to adapt to the car, that does, we've had this conversation before, that very much does speak to your ability as a driver. Right. And so, yeah, if Lando was able to figure out a really shitty car, then kind of basically so should he. And I think he's going to end up with the same situation once he's in this AlphaTauri also, because AlphaTauri is not a good car, No. Like, that's part of why we praise Yuki so much with, how well he does in that car. Right. And so, for sure, I think Ricciardo is basically going to end up in a situation where that he had in that McLaren, where this is not a good car. So you're going to have to figure it out very, very quickly and start performing very, very quickly, or it's wraps for you.
Yeah, I think Nick De Vries or Yuki was saying that during testing and stuff, that it was a car that somehow understeered and oversteered at the same time. It's a classic, this car sucks. Yeah. Right. I'm interested to see that how his skill stacks up with Yuki's in adapting to the car. And there are a couple things that are looming over this thing. This is not when we say welcome back, Daniel, to F1, there are some asterisks to that.
Oh, for sure.
This is as big of a risk for Daniel as it is for... actually, Red Bull has no risk in this. Yeah. They really don't care. Yeah. But... basically, joining a team mid-season was not Daniel's first choice. He wanted to wait until the end of the season to join AlphaTauri if they had offered him that seat. That would have been his preference, because he wanted the chance during the off-season, during the winter, to get to know the team, get back into the groove, go through the simulator, hopefully have a better car, right? Knowing that the Red Bull collaboration is going to take place. Yeah. But now it's kind of well, shit, I'm getting into a suboptimal car. Yeah.
Well, so that's the thing, though. I don't think of this as really any permanent thing whatsoever for Ricciardo. I really think it's just that seat really had nowhere to go but up. So Red Bull said, all right, let's just throw him in and see what it is. But really, I don't think there's absolutely no promises. I think regardless of how well he does in that car, even if he, just wipes the floor with Yuki, there's nothing promised for him at the end of that season.
No, in fact, the biggest contender for that seat that Daniel now has, because Daniel's contract is reportedly only going to go to the end of the season. So that means he's being dropped in his first race back and immediately has to go into I need a contract mode.
No, so that's the thing. I think if I'm Daniel Ricciardo, don't look at it as... Also, don't even think about it as, oh, I'm trying to get a Red Bull seat. Just think, okay, I have until the rest of the season just to show the rest of the grid, hey, I can still drive. I'm back. So give me a seat.
Yeah. His stiffest competition is Liam Lawson, who's currently racing in Super Formula, the Japanese. Think of it as like an F2 equivalent. It's basically how fast they are. And he won the feature race right after the whole thing happened, and he's only like 1 point away from the championship right now. Yeah, so if he wins that championship, I don't know how big of a strong... Like, Gasly did that.
No, that's the thing. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. My kind of ideal scenario in the future is Daniel Ricciardo gets a different seat elsewhere, for 2024, and then, like, Liam comes in for that AlphaTauri seat.
Okay, so then let's talk about...
Because I don't see Ricciardo... for people also that are, starting to get hype, and as much criticism as I was giving Checo, I don't see Checo being dropped until his contract ends.
Yeah, I mean, not, like, well...
No, he would have to have like a continuously catastrophic performances.
And Daniel would have to like fucking win a race in that AlphaTauri.
You think
it's possible?
Well, no, I think if Ricciardo just performs like at an average level, but Checo is just absolutely shitting the bed in that Red Bull, then we might see him actually get dropped. But other than that situation, I don't think Checo is gonna get let go until 2025 when his contract ends.
Okay, so you mentioned that so Liam is kind of like, we both think he deserves that chance at that AlphaTauri seat, especially if he wins the Super Formula Championship.
Well, not even as much that he deserves it, but it's an open seat, and because it's a lower team, it kind of makes sense to bring in a rookie. Yeah,
which is the whole point of AlphaTauri. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say Daniel doesn't stay at AlphaTauri. What are the other options for him? Is I guess what I'm about to ask.
So I know there is other contracts on the grid that are ending at 2023. Well, Hamilton's for one because he still hasn't signed his.
Obviously, and Russell. They both haven't signed
Mercedes. No, I'm pretty sure Russell's is until 2024.
Did they extend it then?
I think that's just when it was. At least when I
when you were looking at it, said 2024.
Yeah, I said 2024.
Then it's 24.
But I think it's Kevin Magnussen is on a multi-year deal, but Hülkenberg's ends in 2023. There's a couple. I
thought Kevin's ends this year. You sure?
No, yeah. So I know one of the Haas drivers is on a quote unquote multi-year deal, but one of them ends 2023, and a couple of the other. It's mainly the bottom teams that have contracts ending in 2023. Most of the like top 4 teams, contracts aren't ending until 2024 or 2025. Yes, yeah. So that's where I feel like that would be
the big opportunity for.
Yeah, that's Ricciardo's really only. That's Ricciardo's only other options. It's like he could potentially look at a Haas seat or a Alfa Romeo seat.
He's gonna have to deal with another like lower team.
He's not moving up anytime soon. Yeah.
Doesn't Zhou Guanyu's contract end this year too?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so there's one at Alfa Romeo. When does Bottas's end? 24.
Bottas, I think, is on a... So there's a bunch of drivers that, at least like from what I was researching, and this was also from like F1.com, where it just says multi-year deal, where they never disclosed the actual close date of the contract. So I think that means they probably just look at it like at the end of every year and decide to renew it or not.
You sure? Or it could just be an undisclosed year.
Yeah,
that's already
I can't
been
remember
fixed.
The specifics, but I know for sure there is at least 3 contracts ending at the end of 2023.
Okay.
So essentially 3 potential seats.
Joe, Magnussen, and... Well, I guess Lewis, but he's in
Not Albon. It might be... Oh, Sargent's ends at 2023.
Oh, that's right. As a rookie contract.
Yeah.
Okay, so really Daniel's, I think, biggest hope out of all of them is Sargent.
Mm-hmm.
That seat is going to be... I mean, we already know Mick Schumacher. There's rumors about Mick Schumacher trying to steal that seat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Sargent deserves to be... I think Sargent still needs to show that he deserves a second chance, or that he deserves a bigger, like another year extension.
Really, I'm surprised you said that. I would have thought you would want him to like get retained for another year to keep going.
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying like, okay. He is not nearly as bad as Nick De Vries, or at least in his performances throughout this season. At Silverstone, I think he did a pretty good job in that car. It's a tough, getting 11th, right, in a very tough top 10, right? I think that's pretty impressive, especially because Albon really Albon did great in P8, but I mean, with the pace of that car, you could argue
Wait, does Piastri's end in 2023 also? Piastri for
no,
sure.
I think he got a
is gonna
2 year. I think he got a 2 or 3 year.
Okay.
Yeah, he definitely his ends before Lando's, but it doesn't end at the end of this year. I don't think he got a rookie contract. I think he got a 2 year contract.
Okay.
In either case, I mean, it doesn't matter for Daniel. Daniel's not going back to McLaren.
Yeah.
So he's not. No.
Yeah, he's really not.
So really, I think the best chance he has then for next year is probably Sargent's. I doubt Alfa Romeo will drop Zhou Guanyu. He's been doing a very good job.
There is a chance though that he stays at the AlphaTauri. Like personally for him, I like my personal opinion is I don't think that's the best thing for him, but it definitely is. It's up. There's potential there.
Well, let's talk about from AlphaTauri's perspective, right? So if Red Bull looks at it as objectively as possible from their perspective, right? Okay, we have Daniel, and let's say he proves that he does a good job. Okay, we could either extend his contract, keep him in the sport in this seat, or do what we've always proposed and designed this team to be, and have Lawson come in and see if he's got what it takes for a season. For me, if I was in Red Bull's position, I would immediately go, yeah, Lawson.
Yeah.
And then and try to help Daniel get another seat. That would be in the best interest for them to both get a seat.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where they're going to prioritize their younger drivers over Daniel.
Why?
True. Why would they prioritize Daniel over someone like Lawson, especially if he wins the championship?
That's what I was going to say. I think the only situation where they would think about prioritizing Danny is if he really was showing incredible performance in that AlphaTauri. And especially, if they think the car is going to get faster, by the next year, then if they're thinking in their heads that, okay, he's going to consistently score points, then I think they'd keep him for another year before they bring in a rookie. But I do think for sure they probably will help him try to find another seat, or he'll just spend another season. He might end up spending another season or two as a reserve driver because, at the end of 2024 and 2025, that's when a lot of the bigger seats are going to open up, and he'd have a chance of actually going back to a good team.
Yeah. I do know that, when Yuki's contract ends?
I want to say 2024.
2024?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of rumor going around that he's going to be dropped from the Red Bull family, or that there's going to be it's not a bad break between them, but they understand that because Honda is now going to partner with Aston Martin, that Yuki's Honda ties are going to slowly drag him away.
I really want Yuki to go to that Aston Martin.
Alonso would have to retire. That's really the problem, right? We've ranted about this before.
Yeah.
We hate Stroll. Why are you here? Give your seat to some.
No, literally, when I was looking at the contract years for everything, and then I got to Stroll's, and Stroll's basically just says unknown because
he's never losing.
You don't know. Yeah,
he's never instantly seasoned.
Yeah, I don't think he even necessarily had to sign a contract saying for this extended amount of time. It really was just he got hired, and it is what it is.
He's here.
Yeah, he's here. He's here. Who knows when he's gonna leave?
Yeah, just disappointing.
Yeah. So I want to formally ask you, though, do you agree with the decision to drop Nick De Vries?
Yeah. I think Red Bull has no shortage of potential juniors. And I'll break this into two parts. From a business perspective, right? Red Bull as an F1 team, I fully respect it, and I think it was a good choice. I think they were just kind of wasting their time. Do I think from a emotional perspective, do I think it was the right thing to do? No. De Vries young, man. I mean, he won championship.
He's not that young, bro. He's
no, I know, but young in the sport. So
yeah.
Any rookie, I have sympathy for that. Damn, you couldn't figure it out in your first half season. You deserve some more chances. Yuki got, right? Yuki now in his third season is now really showing it's good that they brought him on, but the last two seasons you could make the argument that he didn't necessarily deserve the seat.
No, I was gonna say, because I think a lot of people are hyping up Yuki this season. They're like, oh, Yuki's doing so on. I'm like, are you guys forgetting last season though, when he was absolute shit, and we were low-key kind of saying, oh wow, is Yuki even gonna be here next year? We were thinking that Yuki was basically in the position that Nick De Vries was last year. He just now, so he got lucky,
the same
but
scenario.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad, but it was still kind of bad. He was for sure underperforming, and there was concerns around him. But he just, but they let him keep going into this season, and he improved.
I think he's responded very well to the changing conditions and the pressure. I think Nick De Vries' situation was more they expected so much more from him. So that's why, like, from an emotional perspective, no, I don't agree with it. I think it was pretty harsh. But from, like I said, like, we have to talk about F1 as F1. F1 is not about emotion. Like, I'm sorry. It's about the 20 best drivers in the world, except for Stroll, being on the grid.
That was uncalled for.
Being on the grid, fighting at the top of their game. Can you honestly say, objectively, that Nick De Vries was at the top of his game or deserved to be there more than another driver? Like, honestly, I think Mick Schumacher probably deserved more chances than right. Like Mick Schumacher, or I want to see Liam Lawson. I want to see him in F1 and see what he can do. Right. I want to see Ayumu Iwasa. I want to see him. He's another Red Bull driver who's currently in F2. Felipe Dragovich, all these other young guys. I want to see them get a chance.
Yeah.
And Nick had his chance. It's clear that Yuki has shown the potential of that car. Like, that you can get it done, right?
So I agree with you also that, and like I agree with the decision they made to drop him. And my main reasoning for it is I think he does have a different set of standards for him because we talked about this, at the start of the season of, he's coming in as a rookie to F1, but he is not a rookie driver by any means. I've seen like so many videos, like, we talked about he was a Formula E champion, but even outside of that, he has spent time as an F1 reserve driver. He's done F1 testing. Compared to any of these, like, actual rookies Sergeants, coming from F2, they genuinely never had any significant time in an F1 car. This guy has had essentially, like, obviously not like 2 full years, he wasn't on the grid, but he essentially has like 2 years of familiarity with an F1 car. So for sure there's a higher standard for him. So coming into this season and getting absolutely washed by your teammate, even though yes, Yuki now has had 3 years in the sport,
even though it was the Williams, he did even drive an F1 race.
That's the thing. Yeah, like he's literally driven an F1 race and he performed well. So it's just what happened to all that performance. That's why I just, whenever people are saying, oh, this was kind of harsh, I'm like, honestly, I don't think so. At this point in his career, like after you've been, he's a Formula E champion, you should know kind of like how cutthroat it can be, and how when you get into a position where like you absolutely have to perform, he's definitely, he's no stranger to that. That's why, and that's also why, like, emotionally for me, I don't really feel as bad. I think when I look back to like when they dropped Gasly and Albon, I felt a bit, especially Gasly, I felt so bad for Gasly when they dropped him from that Red Bull. I felt a bit bad in that situation, but I also think in that situation they had lower expectations than they needed to meet, but he had much higher expectations to meet and he just didn't meet them. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you when you guys get a chance, we have a TikTok. We've been posting videos and clips from our episodes. But there was a recent video I saw that was talking about given Red Bull's decisions about drivers being as ruthless as they are, like, would you as a driver want to deal with that, knowing that you could never win a championship and stuff, right? And I mean, I like that question a lot, but I do think it's not a loaded question, but it's just kind of like, it's kind of misleading, or it's not understanding the perspective of Red Bull. So with Gasly, it was very much like they had nothing to lose by dropping him, and he clearly was not driving at the level they needed.
Well, no, and that's also what I mean by this De Vries situation, because that second AlphaTauri car literally had nowhere to go but up. That car has not scored any points this entire time. It has nowhere to go but up, which is why I'm also like, of course they just drop him and put him. They could have put in literally anyone they wanted to, because it's just like, well, whatever happens, happens. You can't really get much worse than this. The only worse you could get is just if you get more accident prone and become like a Mick Schumacher. That's so.
Danny won't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny might like kind of fall short of expectations, but he's not going to crash the car. Yeah, he's way too experienced for that. Knock on wood. Yeah. Let's hope not. Sorry, now that I've said it, hopefully not. But I think we're both really, really excited to see Danny and how he performs.
I will say with Danny though, because you were saying, there is kind of like an asterisk in him coming back into this grid. Yeah. I really think so. The absolute bare minimum for him is matching Yuki. Right?
For what we expect him to do? Yes.
No, that's the absolute bare minimum. The expectation, though, is that I'm not expecting him to, like, absolutely overperform Yuki, but kind of, like, the bar, I guess, is he should be doing slightly better than Yuki. That's what it is. But then I was going to say with that, though, if let's say he is underperforming compared to Yuki, I think that might be it for him. Because after a situation like that happens, why would any other team on the grid now want to pick him up
instead of Yuki?
Exactly.
Or instead of
instead of anyone else. Yeah, I think that might be it for him.
I agree.
That might be when we finally see Daniel Ricciardo like on the IndyCar grid.
Yeah, or the Australian supercars. Yeah, but we're thinking
unrelated to this, but genuinely for Daniel Ricciardo, I hope after he kind of retires from F1, he goes to IndyCar for a bit because I think he would love
NASCAR.
IndyCar.
Yeah, it's something American. He deserves to be here in the States. Come to the States, man. Yeah. I've nothing much else more to say about it. I don't want to sound cold. Okay, when I was talking about before, I hope I made a good point about like separating the emotion from the objective side about F1, about the honest side about F1, right? And of course, like, we don't know Nick De Vries. I'm sure it would be very different if we were personally related to him, if we knew him, if he was a friend, right? Just as it's very different if you worked at Red Bull or you worked at AlphaTauri. Like, from our perspective, we're gonna do the best we can. But like, yeah,
I did find it kind of wild, just from F1 social media, just how every single post I was seeing was just everyone was like, "Oh my God, Daniel Ricciardo is back!" Like even the
no love for Nick.
even the official like F1 social medias just posted a whole video just about like Daniel Ricciardo's smile and stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Yeah, they did do an interview, and I'm just like. It's so crazy to me how fast they just ignored Nick De Vries. I'm like the entire time that this is happening, Nick De Vries is just in the corner right now crying because he's just like
the Total Wolf. He's going to cry to Total Wolf.
yeah, and it's just I don't know. I thought that was kind of wild.
I want to make one point too that I made in the TikTok video too is the idea that somehow Red Bull is more ruthless than Mercedes or Ferrari. Bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
Bullshit. Okay. And this is like I'm gonna sound like I'm backtracking now. Like I don't have any evidence necessarily to like say that like I can just tell you for a fact basically that they would be as ruthless as Red Bull if given that same situation.
The thing is, obviously Red Bull 1 is in a very unique situation than any other team because they literally have a junior team on the grid. No other team has that. Ferrari kind of had that with Alfa Romeo and Sauber. But it still wasn't at the same level as the Toro Rosso Red Bull situation. But I also think, at least from what I can think in recent years, Red Bull is really the only team. I don't want to say this. I'll say this like with a grain of salt, but Red Bull is the only team that I can really think of that had also a situation where you had drivers that were like that had absolutely abysmal performance. Other than
compared to the teammate.
Yeah, other than Nikita Mazepin and I guess maybe Mick Schumacher too. Like other than them, I can't really think of any other drivers that everyone was just saying.
No, Latifi. But
Latifi,
the difference,
needed the money.
Exactly, that's the big difference. There was no good reason to keep them around, and the stakes were even higher for Red Bull because you have to start winning championships. They were so desperate to fight for that. Like, no, they're not going to waste their time like, oh, maybe he'll come around. You're losing precious points every race. And when Gasly was like crashing all the time, because that car was incredibly hard to drive. Like, it was, right? But to be fair, as soon as Albon jumped in, he almost got a podium in Brazil in 2019. Yeah. He actually did quite well.
That's what I mean. The one time where I do think Red Bull was a little too harsh, I think, is with Albon. I sure think Albon deserved at least another half a season to see what he could do. But the previous decisions that Red Bull has made, I don't think were necessarily unjustified.
Yeah, they were justified for sure. And especially with Gasly, too, there were a lot of stuff that came out afterwards about like his behavior and attitude towards the team that he wasn't very...
Well, no, I think it was just he didn't meld with the culture of the team well.
What?
I mean, I don't know what stuff you saw about his attitude, but I just know I saw things talking about
what I've read from articles is that he didn't take not conforming to the car very well, and he took it out on a lot of the team the mechanics. That he questioned like the leadership and like had a lot of fights with Helmut Marko, and just like was not very mature in taking this whole thing where he couldn't figure out the car. And to me, I mean, I'm sure from Red Bull's perspective, it's like, okay, well,
all right, bye,
it made the decision a lot easier. And I want to say too that like for Albon, I think they were harsh on him, and the reason why we're giving him like some special treatment compared to Kvyat or Gasly was like Albon was in his rookie season in 2019. rookie season, getting an opportunity at Red Bull, and he did better than Gasly, who had that. By that point, what was his third?
No,
season,
he was a
season?
seasoned driver. Yeah,
not seasoned, but
at AlphaTauri, I mean.
At the time it was Toro Rosso. Was he? I think it was like 1.5 seasons before he got the seat. Or was it 1.5 or 2 seasons before he got the seat?
I mean, regardless, though, I just mean he had more experience in the sport.
Yes, that's true. And he won the Super Formula Championship too, I think, before that. Did he win it? Forgot. I don't know. Either one, I was really close to winning it. But my point is like Albon showed way more potential, and was the closest of I guess before Sergio, to really like finally close the gap to Max. Yeah. The closest of all those guys, I guess, except for Ricciardo, but that's different, right? Yeah.
But I guess so. Also to give, I guess, some more context for people who don't know about previous situations like this when Red Bull has dropped drivers. So yeah, we had Albon and then we had Gasly, but before them, the last person to leave the Red Bull team was Daniel Ricciardo, and so that situation is a bit different though. So Daniel Ricciardo wasn't underperforming in that Red Bull at all. He was matching Max, but there was obviously some tension. They crashed into each other just way too many times. And at that point, I think it was in the end of 2018 when he left. Yeah. So that was half. Obviously, Red Bull, a lot of their energy and attention was pointed towards Max. Max was really the driver, they were trying to develop and bring up. And so Daniel Ricciardo kind of saw that. And so Daniel Ricciardo himself wanted to leave because he wanted to be at a team where he could be the number one driver, basically. Yeah. And so I feel like that's a situation where I don't think necessarily Red Bull was, saying, oh, Danny, leave. But obviously they weren't necessarily, fighting tooth and nail to keep him. And then that also plus him wanting to leave. That's why he left. And so that's why I don't think that's a situation at all where Red Bull was really being ruthless or anything like that.
And so clearly made the objectively the right decision.
Mm-hmm. And so before that, though, the last Red Bull driver before, I guess, Ricciardo was Daniel Kvyat. So this was way back in like 2015, 2016. So Daniel Kvyat was in the Toro Rosso and he got moved into the Red Bull. But he basically, the whole time he was in that Red Bull, he was underperforming. He was pretty accident prone too. I'm pretty sure he crashed a couple times. It was when he crashed into Vettel. That was when he was still in the Toro Rosso though, right? I
think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he didn't crash into Vettel in the Red Bull, but he was still crashing and underperforming when he was in the Red Bull, and that's why he got dropped back down to Toro Rosso, and they made the decision to move Max Verstappen back up to that seat, which very clearly was the right decision to make.
Very first race, he wins the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, kind of on that too. I wanted to talk about Helmut Marko. So, we've been throwing his name around a lot pretty much this whole season, I feel like. And, whenever there's talks about Red Bull's driver decisions, you always hear the name Helmut Marko. And for some people who don't know who Helmut Marko is, first of all, he's that guy right there. And so what he is he's in charge of Red Bull's junior program. So basically the program, that develops the F2 and younger drivers to get them F1 seats and also move people up from the AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso to the Red Bull. And then he also holds an advisor position to Red Bull. I don't really know what that means. I think it just means he's there and can help the team make certain decisions. Yeah. And so I guess to give some background on him, he actually used to be a racing driver. He did race in Formula One. He raced for 10 races, did not score any points, but he did race in endurance racing, and he actually did win the 24 Hours of Le Mans back in 1971. Yeah, cool. Racing for the Porsche team. So I will say, at least dude definitely knows how to drive. That's one thing I was happy to see. I was like, okay, this is actually a guy that has,
he's not some
racing.
Yeah,
he's not just some random guy that's just like calling shots. He knows what to look for in a driver.
Random business guy. Good.
Yeah. But so I guess in 1999 was when he became in charge of the junior program, and then 2015 was when he officially became an advisor for Red Bull. But yeah, so that's who he is. I know because there's a lot of talks and people are talking about
who's this guy?
People are saying, oh, he's like cold-hearted and ruthless, and I'm like, maybe yes, he is a little cutthroat in the way he makes the decisions, but I will say, and history has shown, he's been making good calls for the most part. I think the one call that he made that we disagree with, like we just talked about, is the Alex Albon call. Yeah. But other than that, he hasn't missed because he was in the talks and he helped make the decision to bring Vettel up to the Red Bull, to bring Max up to the Red Bull, to bring Ricciardo up to the Red Bull.
De Vries was honestly the first time he's probably missed. Because he stated
that's
that
true. That's true. Yeah, because he did want to bring
Christian Horner was
Nick
against that decision, or he was skeptical of bringing on Nick De Vries instead of probably one of the junior drivers. Mm-hmm. And Helmut Marko kind of superseded him or convinced him, like, no, let's go with Nick De Vries. So clearly, that's really the only time I can think of that he was wrong.
But I still feel like he's like So what? 4 for 6.
No, I know.
It doesn't matter. But
we can
like,
argue the semantics. But the point is just this dude he's good at his job and he's ruthless about it. But like we said, man, it's take emotion off the table. He gets the job done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a lot. I think I don't have a massive opinion about the guy. There are some things that I'll curse under my breath if I hear something about him. Like, I'm just like, that dude's an asshole.
No, I think the one thing that I don't like about him is I think the comments that he'll make, throughout a season, all those, like, that type of stuff, I don't really like from him. But in terms of his decision making when it comes to drivers, I actually do like the decisions he makes, and I think he knows what he's doing.
Good for the team.
Yeah,
and really, that's kind of what matters. But I don't like all of his comments. But we will say that not everything he says is great. He's kind of like that one grandpa that like you don't like everything they say. They're gonna say something. You're just like, yeah, okay, grandpa. Yeah. But other than that.
We were talking before the podcast about how he looks like just an old character from Game of Thrones. Also, I feel like if you take any like really old character from Game of Thrones, like Helmut Marko kind of looks like them.
Looks like Blood Raven. Yeah. Or he looks like the head of the remember like the not he wasn't called the Warden,
but like about Game of Thrones now.
Yeah, I know the head of the the
Citadel.
No.
Night's
oh my
Watch.
God, I forgot his name. Or like the when you take the black, when you take like
Maester Aemon.
No, he kind of does. Yeah, his hair kind of does.
Aemon.
Yeah, but I was gonna say like remember the boss of like the I forgot
like the king of the Night's Watch.
Yeah, the Night's Watch. Thank you.
Yeah,
I forgot. Yeah. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, but the big guy.
Yeah,
Mormont, right?
Yeah.
Honestly,
I can kind of see that.
Yeah. Anyway, no, but the point is, he looks like every old white guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Game of Thrones, which is funny. I guess they're all English, most of them.
Yeah. So. But I mean, yeah. Did you have anything else you want to add?
That's basically it for now. Be sure to tune in real soon for the Hungarian Grand Prix breakdown.
Yes, sir.
We'll have that for you soon. But we just wanted to talk about this big news and kind of discuss this topic because it's been going around and we have stuff to say, so we're gonna say it.
Yeah. All right. Peace.
Have a good one.